All right, Mr. Skip Evans, you are running for Commissioners, re-election District 3. How long have you been here in Clinton County?
I've lived here in Clinton County my entire life.
And what is it that you do for a living?
Actually, I'm retired. I retired from Chrysler Corporation in 2000. I was a tool and die welder and a tool and die maker, and I retired. I retired when I was 47 years old. Started a couple businesses and sold them, and I've always been interested in county politics. So after I'd been out of my business for about a year, then I ran for county commissioner, and lucky enough to get elected.
And what is it about politics that interests you?
You know what, I was involved in politics at Chrysler Corporation. I was a union officer for almost 13 years, and I've spent the majority of my life representing working class people, and actually I wanted to try to do, represent the people in Clinton County and try to make things better in Clinton County.
So do you think that the people that you represented on union leadership are similar to the people that you represent now?
Oh yeah, we had, a lot of the same problems and stuff in the plant, It seemed like when I was involved in the union, I spent 90–80% of my time representing 2% of the people, but in politics, I was one of the very first ones to have my personal phone number and my cell phone number put in the Frankfurt paper. And my campaign thing all along was accessibility and accountability. I believe in holding Clinton County government accountable.
Got it. Now, you're currently serving as commissioner and you're up for re-election, so if you lose this race, then you lose your seat. But your opponent, on the other hand, Scott Shoemaker, who's sitting on the county council, isn't up for re-election, so he won't lose his seat if he loses this race. So I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are on Shoemaker's campaign. Why do you think he's opposing you, and do you think anybody's going to take him seriously?
You know what, I think Scott's a good guy, I really do, and I'm definitely not going to get into any type of a rap, mudslinging or anything like that, but I don't think anybody needs to run unopposed. I think people do need choices, and actually, one thing about it is this job requires a lot of time, and it's all I have to do. I'm retired, and I love what I do. I love taking the calls. I love talking to the people. And this is a full-time job. It's more than a full-time. I'll guarantee you I've got 50, 60 hours a week in doing this job. And my thing would be, it would be tough to do another job and do this job right. So I love what I do, and I'm hoping that the people give me an opportunity to serve 4 more years.
So let's talk about your platform then. What principles, what ideals are you running on?
When I first took this job, we had a major snowstorm, and we had 13 pieces of highway equipment, and 7 of them were broke down. So I knew then we had troubles. And I've made it for a lot of friends out at the highway department, and I have the utmost respect for those guys out there and what they do. But since I've been in office, we've managed, with the help of the council, we've managed to buy 4 new dump trucks. We bought 3 new tractors, and we bought an excavator so we can go after abandoned properties without having to outsource it. We can actually do it with highway labor, and then we'll ask for free dumping at the landfill. But we need to make Clinton County, make Clinton County a better place to live. We need to clean it up, and get rid of these abandoned properties. And actually, when I first got elected, I was saying all along, we need to sell these places. We need to sell them. And actually, Ron Nemish, with his help and stuff, we put together the commissioner's certificate sale. But the commissioners that I were talking to when I would go to the Indiana State Commissioners Conferences and stuff, I would ask those guys, hey, what do you guys do with these properties? And they said, Skip, we sell them. So that's exactly what we've done. And I think the first sale, we sold 58 properties and got them back on the tax rolls. And then there's a property out in Hillisburg right now. And the responsibility or the authority on these unincorporated towns falls back on the commissioners, and we need to do something to, for Moran, Hillisburg, Circleville. We need to get rid of some of those properties and actually bring those towns up to code. So make them more attractive for people to want to come here. But the houses that were in arrears and stuff like that, we needed to get them back on the tax rolls, and that was basically my fight and my push.
Got it. Is there anything in particular that you think you've learned in your term as commissioner that you didn't know when you first started?
You know what, coming from skilled trades and having 5,000 people that I represented and 2,000 skilled tradesmen, I can't believe how slow government works. I mean, it's just sometimes I want to just pull my hair out. I just can't believe how long it takes to get something done. I mean, it's just, if we'd have done that, and if I'd have done that in my small business, or if we'd have done it at a Chrysler Corporation, we wouldn't have lasted 30 days. It's discouraging about how long it does take to get things done. But another thing too is, you know, I'm all about accountability. You know, I mean, I used to let them spank my union employees. You know, I mean, if they, you know, if I had one that was misbehaving or anything like that, I'd let the corporation spank him. I'd say, hey, give him some time, give him 5 days off and decide whether or not he wants to work here. If he doesn't want to be here, then we don't want him here. But anytime any one of those guys would miss or something, then it would be a deterrent to the other employees. You know, they'd have to step up and cover him. Well, I'm the same way with county government. I'm all about accountability, and I'll tell you, I hold those people accountable. Now, I have no authority over elected officials. Mm-hmm. They actually run their own offices, but you know, Highway, Parkview, some of the other places like that. You know, I'm a hands-on person. You know.
And one of the points of accountability that you implemented, or that you pushed to implement, in January 2013, you passed a code of ethics for the county commissioners. Do you think that has been successful? Is that part of the same accountability that you're pushing for?
Well, actually, it's never come into play yet. You know, one of the things about it is when I went to the Association of County Commissioners, everybody kind of scoffed at Clinton County because you get elected in Clinton County, you have your road paved. And that needed to change, you know, and actually, you know, everybody was teasing me, well, when are you going to have your road paved? And I said, I'm not going to have my road paved. I said, my road gets paved, it'll come from highway, not from me, and then I'll recuse myself because I'm not going to be involved in something like that, you know. But, you know, actually, as far as accountability, it's just, you know, like in the case of Parkview, we haven't done anything out there as far as the structure or the rent structure or anything like that in over 14 years. And actually, you know, we're losing about $30,000 a month out there. So, you know, we had a lot of suggestions and stuff that we needed, you know, things that we needed to do out there. And Parkview Home will never be profitable, but we need to cut our losses.
Got it. Another
thing, too, is the county fair. You know, I said when I very first got elected, our county fair, man, we need to step up our game here at the fairgrounds. Actually, our fairgrounds, our restrooms out there are deplorable. They look like a third world country. But you know, the fair board and the guys that were out there doing it, they didn't want to have more events and stuff. Well, how do you generate income? You have more events, you know, you get more things going out there to get revenue to reinvest in the fairgrounds. But the horse barns are deplorable, the rafter tails are rotting off, the gutters are falling down. Like I said, the restrooms are like a third world country. And I didn't get along very well with the fair board because I wanted to have more events. And everything I ever got from them was, well, we're all volunteers, we're all volunteers. And I said, well, here's the deal, guys. You know, lease the fairgrounds or let other people come in there and use it, but we've got some major changes coming in the fairgrounds. Actually, the fair board, they wouldn't have made it anyway because they were only, they weren't losing money, but they weren't generating enough income to do the maintenance and stuff that needed to be done. Now the county gives them around $70,000 a year, but that basically just went to keep their head above water and keep what they had going. But right now we've got horse races planned. We've got motorcycle races planned. We're going to have something at the grandstands every night during the fair. The 3 years that I've been involved with the fair and stuff, we didn't have anything at the grandstands except for one night. Well, that's another thing too. The carnivals and the places like that, they don't want to come unless there's a lot of people there. We're going to have clowns walking around. We're going to have a group from Indianapolis come down called the Circle City Stompers. It's a bunch of guys that play music. They're going to be walking around. We're going to have we're going to have a magician walking around doing stuff. There'll be something at the grandstands every night. And that's another thing too. Our grandstands, those things need to be painted bad, but we need to have more things going out there to generate revenue. That property belongs to the taxpayers. It belongs to the people of Clinton County. And I want to make it accessible to people too. If a church wants to have something out there, they ought to be able to use those properties for minimal expense. I know at one point in time the tractor club wanted to have a consignment auction out there to generate money, you know. And the amount of money that the fair board wanted to charge them was astronomical, and that's ridiculous. That property belongs to you, the taxpayers, and we need to use it to generate money to improve our fairgrounds.
Got it. So let me ask you then specifically about the fair board. We attended a meeting recently with the Fair Association in which you were specifically named as the commissioner who really pushed for a lot of these changes. So since this is your baby, since you've championed this, have you participated in subsequent conversations with the fair organizers?
You know, actually, Commissioner Weaver took that over when he came in because there was some bad blood with the current administration. You know, I mean, they tried to throw our EMS guys off the fairgrounds and stuff like that. And you know, my daughter lives in in Greeley, Colorado, and I go out there every year to the one of the big rodeos they have, and they have a parade that lasts all day long. Well, they have people out there passing out bottled water and popsicles and stuff. And Daryl Sanders had a little bit of money left in his budget that he could appropriate some funds for that. So I told Daryl, I said, hey, go out there and pass out bottled water, popsicles and stuff like that, you know, because it's excessively hot out there. We don't want anybody going down, and it's tax money. Let's give it back to the people. So, you know, anyway, and I actually got some pushback on that too. But when Commissioner Weaver got elected, I told him, I said, you know, we need another set of eyes on the fairgrounds. You know, maybe I might, you know, maybe I'm missing something here. So actually, Commissioner Weaver took the fairgrounds, and you know, he's on board with what we want to do. But we need to generate income out there so we can improve the property.
So Mr. Weaver's taking the lead, but you're still there in a support.
Oh yeah, and you know, Bert and I talk on a daily basis, you know, and actually, I'll tell you what, I can't say enough good about Elaine. You know, this is a volunteer job. She doesn't get paid for what she does, but you know, she's made some major improvements out there. We're going to have horse races on the 4th of July out there. So there's going to be a lot going on. We're trying to get a professional motorcycle race out there too. So one thing right now though that is kind of a little bit controversy and stuff is we're going to have a major rodeo, a large rodeo. Well, if we serve beer, they'll throw like $5,000 into the thing, plus. And I've got mixed emotions on beer at the fairgrounds, but actually I said the only way I would agree to it is if there's a beer tent and they can't go any farther than one section of the stands that is completely blocked off. But there again too, I'd like to have people's input on that. You know, that's the way with the wind farms. I went on the radio numerous occasions and said, hey, I want to know your feelings on wind farms, and I'd like to know your feelings on how you feel about having beer, you know, at the fairgrounds, you know, for a rodeo or something. I want to know what you think. It's not about me, it's about you.
How should people get in touch with you?
Oh, they've got my cell phone number is 765-438-4744, and actually my home phone number, it's best to call my cell phone because I'm usually up running around, but home phone's 249-3074. But hey, give me a call and let me know what you think. I have nothing else to do. I'm retired and I look forward to your calls.
Sounds good. I want to transition just a little bit here and talk about intra-government conflict. I don't think that there's much secret that the commissioners and the council have been at odds recently. So I want to know what you think needs to happen to resolve that conflict.
You know, actually I'm a little bit disappointed in the council. They seem to run to the press all the time rather than coming to us, you know. Man, I'm a labor guy. For 13 years I was in the midst of conflict with management and stuff all the time. And I'll tell you, we need to work together as a team. But my challenge to the council is rather than running to the paper, come to us, you know. And actually the other day we talked about having caucuses, you know. They said they wanted to do it, well, somebody said something about a monthly basis, but I'd say quarterly, to where we can get together and kind of, now there'll be no final action, you know, and actually just do some discussion and stuff, you know. There's a big misconception about, when I first got elected, everybody said, oh, you can't talk to two commissioners, oh, you can't talk to two commissioners. Well, when I'd go down to the association, I'd see all these commissioners sitting around at tables and stuff, and I said, well, you know, isn't that like, you know, you guys are having a meeting? He said, as long as there's no final action, you know. So, you know, actually we do talk about different things, you know, and different ideas, all three of us, you know, and we actually talk to the council. But there's another thing too, is it seems like there's three councilmen that always talk, but then, you know, and then the other guys are just supportive of them. But I'll tell you what, I want to get along with the county council. We need the county council. We need them appropriate the money so we can get done what we want to do. And we're probably going to have to throw some money into the fairgrounds, some seed money. And it's the same way, another thing that I'm pretty proud about is the fact of the mowing ordinance and the nuisance ordinance on these abandoned properties. We didn't have a mowing ordinance and we had a nuisance ordinance that didn't have teeth in it. Well, now those ordinances have teeth, so we can move forward and clean up these unincorporated towns that fall on the responsibility of the commissioners. Now, the incorporated towns like Michigan Town and Kirkland, the ones that have their own town boards, see, they can take care of those problems. But the unincorporated towns, they were left out there on a limb. And another thing too is the trustees. We need to get those trustees to step up. Johnson County trustee has $230,000 in his general fund. We desperately need a new fire station in Johnson County, and actually we need to tap into about $10,000 of that Johnson Township money to get rid of that Tatro property and get it back on the tax rolls, and don't let that property devalue the homes out in Hillisburg.
Got it. Sounds like you have a lot of ideas here, and I know we've covered a lot of ground, but if there's anything you want to go back and revisit or anything else you want to bring up, I definitely want to give you that opportunity to do so now. Specifically, with the election in mind, Clinton County residents, is there anything that they need to know about how the government has been operating or what obstacles lie ahead?
You know, we've got a lot of things coming down the pike too that we really don't have the funding for. It seems as though the state continues to mandate stuff, but then they never give us the funding to do it. You know, we've got courthouse security issues that are being mandated down to us, and then we got ADA issues. Handicap accessible issues that we need to address. But you know, right now with the way funding is and stuff, we're just having a hard time keeping our head above water. You know, we've got snow plows out at the highway department that are 40, the blades themselves are 40 years old. So, you know, it's been a real challenge. Those guys are out there from 4 o'clock in the morning till dark, and then they have to come back in, weld on their blades and do everything else. Now, we've got trucks and tractors, and actually that excavator, we've got a great excavator, so we're going to try to tear down some of these abandoned properties, and we're going to hold the dump at task. The dump gives us 250 ton a year of roadside trash. Well, before Commissioner Weaver took over the dump, they were saying, well, Skip, that's roadside trash. It wouldn't be an abandoned building. And I said, well, here's the deal. We'll push it to the roadside, and then we'll bring it to you. So actually, I think that Commissioner Weaver's got it worked out to where the dump's actually going to take some of that stuff. But there's no way in the world we'd ever generate 250,000 ton of roadside trash, you know.
So if you get reelected as commissioner, then how would you keep in mind the lack of funding?
Well, you know, that's a big question. You know, it just seems like that, you know, our funds are dwindling, our county properties are getting older and stuff like that. But you know, right now, you know, going back to the fairgrounds, we need to generate income there. Parkview Home, I never ever want to close Parkview Home. Matter of fact, I've already picked out my room looking over the ballpark. So, you know, but there again too, we need to cut our losses out there. And I've had conversation with Bob Cook at ASI, and actually he's thinking about maybe using that as a group home, and his group homes are profitable. There's 92 county homes in the state. There was 92 at one point in time. Now we're down to 11, and there's 2 of those that are Boone County, they're Mapleview. It's 3 years into a 5-year closure plan. I just talked to one of the commissioners from Carroll County, and they'd actually sold a bunch of property to BP, a hog thing over there, and they had a bunch of money. Well, now they're broke. So actually, I've talked to him about maybe bringing some of those people, if they can pay more, to Clinton County. But there again, too, we always need to save enough room so we can service our Clinton County residents, you know. It's our tax monies, but there again, too, you know, right now, the only thing it would add to our expense would be food costs. But actually, as far as staff, we wouldn't have to have any more staff. We would, you know, the heat bill, the light bill, and everything else would be the same, but we could generate more income. And I'll have to say, Chris Overman's doing a great job out there. You know, we hired Chris because he's a numbers guy, and actually he's a school teacher, and he's retired military, and he's all about management, and he's all about numbers. Well, he's already reduced the food costs out there by 20%. He's also contracted the drug companies, and now we're getting free samples, you know, for a lot of medications. And, you know, you people need to know that we're buying the medications for those people out there. So he's contacted the drug companies, you know, to see if we can get donations or get samples, you know, so it's less money the taxpayers have to spend. Another thing that, you know, we have actually reinvested some more money out there. We only had an R19 in the attic of Parkview Home, and our heating costs were astronomical. Well, now we're up to an R38, so we've recently had new insulation blown in. We're in the process of changing the light fixtures out there to energy efficient light fixtures. We're in the process of changing the stools and stuff like that. But, you know, we have to do it a little bit at a time. You know, we just don't have the funding to throw at it all at once. But, you know, I'll have to say that Commissioner Boyles has done a great job on our IT. You know, I said all along we needed to look at outsourcing IT, because we really didn't need a full-time IT guy. So actually, you know, I had actually worked on the microfilming and stuff, but we didn't have the funding and stuff. Well, Commissioner Boyles, in order by outsourcing that, you know, we didn't have that salary, we didn't have the benefit package and stuff like that. It's give us more money to spend on IT, and I'll have to say he's done a great job. We've got 39 new computers coming for the courthouse. We've actually got the microfilming stuff is not caught up, but we're making moves on that. I took 2 tons of paperwork out of the courthouse and had them to a confidential shredding thing. And man, that attic floor up there will not support that kind of weight. So, you know, those are just problems that we've stepped up to. And actually, I think as commissioners, we're working real well as a team. And, you know, back to the council, is all those guys need to do is just don't run to the paper, don't run to the press, come talk to us, you know.
Got it. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I'm sure that we have a lot more ground to cover, and I look forward to hearing more from you at the the forum's coming up in April.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Evans.
Okay, can I make a closing?
Absolutely, go for it.
Yeah, well, in closing, I'd like to thank everybody for the last 3 years. You know what? It's been kind of a highlight of my life. I actually love what I do. I really love what I do, and I love hearing from you. You know, it's not about me. It's about what you want. You know, and I really didn't have an issue. I didn't have an opinion on wind farms, and didn't have an opinion at all. Went on the radio, and then people started then calling me. And I'll tell you, I had 4 people in favor of wind farms and hundreds opposed. So then I started in doing my own research and started in going to Tipton County, and I went to the pro and con meetings and stuff. And you know, here's my theory on that: if the stimulus money ever went away on the wind farms, they wouldn't even be there. It's stimulus money that's keeping the things afloat. But and I think the government has actually cut back on that. But you know, you go up north or you go through Tipton County and you see all these wind towers, and you know, none of them are running. Yeah, I'll see 30 of them, maybe only 2 running. Well, why would you build more wind towers if you weren't using the ones you had up to 100% capacity? And I'll tell you exactly why. Because the stimulus money, there's people that are profiting from putting those things up. There's no good way to store the energy, and the technology is just not perfected yet. So anyway, as long as I'm a commissioner, I'm totally opposed, and I'm not going to waffle on the issue. As long as I'm a commissioner, I'm going to fight to keep wind energy out of Clinton County. So, and if you don't agree with that, then you need to do some further research. But there again, too, if you've got an opinion, you've got my cell phone number, 765-438-4744. I'm a full-time commissioner. I work for you. I love what you do, and hopefully you'll give me a chance to work for you for 4 more years.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.